to hear from the individual herself. We're going to be hearing from Nicola Sturgeon very soon indeed. Let's go inside the hall and David Porter.
Brian, thank you very much. Just to bring you up to date, we've just had a debate after that on the Writers' Museum on broadcasting. We are just a few minutes away now from the keynote speech by Nicola Sturgeon. And who's going to introduce her? Well, it's her boss, Alex Salmond, who is going to introduce her.
And I suggested to Nicola that perhaps we could run in partnership for the leadership and deputy leadership of the Scottish National Party. And she said to me, which way around? And then she said she wanted time to think about it. Well, the next day she phoned me up and said it was green for go. And, well, it hasn't turned out too bad, has it? This is obviously one of the highlights of the conference. Nicola Sturgeon is a feisty battler for Govan constituency. She's an elegant debater. She is a wonderful deputy leader of the party. But above all, she's an outstanding health secretary at the present moment. Ladies and gentlemen, delegates, can I give you the finest deputy that any First Minister could have, Nicola Sturgeon, MSP.
First Minister, there's one thing you always forget to mention about that day at Champney. You didn't buy me lunch, it was a cup of coffee. On my way over to conference this morning, I picked up a copy of the Independent newspaper. Scotland 10, England 0 is the headline that screams off the front page. You know, I didn't realise Alec McLeish was doing quite that well. But of course, the piece is not about football at all. It's a 3-page article about how much better life is in Scotland under the SNP. And delegates, I think we can all second that. Fellow nationalists, it's such an amazing privilege to stand here before you as a member of the first SNP government in history. Now let's just savour that for one moment. The first SNP government in history. How good does that sound? I want to thank, from the very bottom of my heart, all of you who worked so hard to make our victory possible. Not just in the 4 weeks of the election, not just in the last year as our campaign gathered momentum and confidence, but to everyone in the 73-year journey of our party who, through all the ups and the downs, never stopped believing in Scotland's potential, never stopped campaigning for Scottish independence. People like Winnie Ewing, who I am so delighted to see here with us today. Of course, delegates, many dear friends of our movement didn't live to see the 3rd of May 2007. Great nationalists like Donnie Stewart, Doc Mack, Alan McCartney, Maggie Ewing and countless others, they would be so immensely proud of what we have achieved. Our victory belongs to them as much as it does to us, and we pay tribute to each and every one of them. Delegates, our win in May was a watershed. Yes, we are a minority government with just a one-seat advantage. That means life will rarely be dull. But May the 3rd represented a fundamental shift in Scottish politics and in the Scottish psyche. May 2007 was the election in which the people of Scotland looked Labour straight in the eye and told them that they didn't believe them anymore. They rejected the fears and the smears, and they opted instead for a message of hope and optimism, a vision not of what Scotland can't do, but of what we can achieve if we have the courage to be bold. Delegates, it was the confident act of a nation growing in self-belief. Now, of course, this renaissance in Scottish self-confidence hasn't pleased absolutely everybody. The former editor of The Sun, Mr. Kelvin Mackenzie, treated us recently to an idiotic diatribe telling us Scotland couldn't survive without English subsidies. Now, I don't know about you, but I really couldn't care less what he thinks. But what was intriguing was the reaction of the other parties. "I couldn't disagree more," said Wendy Alexander. "He was talking nonsense," said the Tories. "He should apologise," said the Liberal Democrats. Well, indeed. But aren't these the very same parties that spent the entire election campaign saying exactly what he said? So let me say this to Wendy, to Annabelle and to Nicola. We welcome your change of heart. These views are offensive, but not just when people like Kelvin Mackenzie voice them. They are offensive when you voice them too. So let the Scottish election of 2007 be the last time you seek to talk Scotland down. Delegates, how many people have said to you since May that our victory has been like a breath of fresh air? The country has a real spring in its step, and it's not just the football. Suddenly Scotland has a government worthy of the name. A government that won't brush Scotland's interests under the carpet just to spare the blushes of London ministers. A government that will speak out when Scotland is being short-changed. And a government that will not sit on the fence when this nation's voice needs to be heard on the great issues of our time. Delegates, that's not picking fights with London. That is standing up for Scotland's interests. It's what our government... It is what our government was elected to do. And let me tell you, it is what our government will always do. Now, I had the opportunity earlier this week to deliver the opening address at an event organised by Bruce Crawford to imagine a future without nuclear weapons. It was an occasion of enormous significance, reflecting the fact that a majority of Scots do not want Trident on the Clyde. A majority of MPs and a majority of MSPs do not want Trident either. Of course, that was the case before the election too. What is different now is that we have a Scottish government that's prepared to stand up and be counted. Remember the days of maybe's aye, maybe's no from Jack McConnell? Those days are gone. When it comes to Trident, this government knows what side it is on. We say no to new Trident missiles on the River Clyde.